All right. Sean Combs, P.Diddy.
Puff Daddy, P. Diddy,
Big love.
Just love, I think.
Just love.
Yeah.
What is going on with Sean Combs?
There's a lot going on, man. A lot to parse here. Although the more I try to research it to brief myself before talking to you, it's very little, I think, material, factual information that we can trust. I think I've probably weeded through it and found a little bit, and you probably have, I hope, a lot. But you shared a little bit with me earlier, which were actual complaints that I did read through fully. So yeah, I know you want to, do you want to give some bullet points on what's going on and then we'll go to the beginning?
Yeah, before we get started, just so everybody knows that Sean Combs is completely innocent until proven guilty. I'm a criminal defense attorney and I like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Here at American Crime Podcast, what we're going to do is we're going to analyze the facts. And the only way to analyze the facts is through the actual legal document. That's all I refer to. I don't care what the internet says. I don't care what people say. I'm reading to you the actual legal document and what the allegations are. So let's go through it right now, all right?
The legal document you are referring to is a civil complaint filed by Mr.
A producer called Rodney Jones, Lil Rod.
Lil Rod,
Yeah,
Mr. Jones.
Yeah.
Mr. Jones brought this suit against
Puff, P. Diddy. Well, let's just call him Sean Combs. Let's make it
against Mr. Combs.
Yeah. And by the way, so just to give you a little background, and I'm going to go into the highlight reel on this one, but this originally started with Cassie Ventura, Cassandra Ventura's lawsuit.
Yes, Cassie.
Cassie was a singer. She had the Me and You song that did really well. He produced that album, and she filed a lawsuit under the New York Sexual Victim Survivors Act. She had like a statute of limitation, and she filed it before the deadline, came about.
Yeah.
And she made all these allegations, and then he settled it, which I think was a big mistake for P. Diddy to do that.
The next day.
And because now the sharks saw the blood in the water.
Can we rewind?
Yeah.
So before that moment, we're talking, this is late last year. He is flying high. I mean, life is looking amazing for him, right?
Has always been looking amazing for him.
It's always looked amazing for him. We know him from growing up, and he produced the albums for Biggie Smalls. He created kind of that Biggie allure in the production of that, of Biggie's hits. He was dancing in the videos. Suge Knight talked a little bit of smack about that.
Yeah.
So that's his
At the Vibe Awards, yeah.
That might be his arch enemy if you look at East Coast, West Coast rap.
And 50. 50 is an arch enemy now too.
Mm-hmm. But all that being said, September or October of last year, 2023, he was a billionaire doing great, no real terrible headlines that were mainstream news. And then everything was going okay, private jet here, that, I'm sure parties, his famous white parties in the Hamptons have been a thing of myth for a long time. Also, Florida and LA. And then Cassie drops this bomb.
Well, you're forgetting 1999. There was a shootout at a club, and Puff Daddy was in trouble then too. He was going out with J-Lo.
For sure, he's been in trouble before. Thank you for the correction.
Yeah, he's been in trouble. He's been
in trouble.
He was there when Biggie got shot. He was there when allegedly he shot somebody, but he was acquitted.
You're right.
So he's been around a lot of smoke, but we don't know whether there was fire.
Very fair point to be. So he's been circling around a lot of different charges throughout the years, different potential crimes that could
dodging charges for years.
Okay.
Dodging.
Your take is that he's been dodging. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's had excellent representation. Ben Brafman was his lawyer in New York.
Okay. Currently, today, as we sit here, there's no charges yet filed at all. I know that you have a lot of thoughts on this.
I do.
Predictions. But what I guess I meant to say was skies were relatively clear October of 23, and he did not know what was about to come down. Now, suddenly, the first domino in these series of dominoes was Cassie's lawsuit.
Yeah.
Cassie's a multi-talented singer, performer, beautiful young lady who he discovered, you could say, when she was 19 years old. And what did she hit him with in November of 23? What was it? Because that started this whole thing.
Well, my understanding is that she hit him with a lot of different things, including forcible sex acts. She claimed that he beat her. He forced Cassie Ventura to have sex with other men while Puff Daddy actually watched. and allegedly masturbated and got off on that. Look, we've all known that P. Diddy's been a freak for years. I mean, anybody that again, this is not a crime. And P. Diddy or Sean Combs.
There's a lot of freaks.
Sean Combs is innocent until proven guilty, but there's a lot of people that are saying that they heard things and they knew things and they're being quiet. And that raises a lot of suspicions, but I don't want to go into speculation. Tony, I want to go straight into the lawsuit.
Okay, but the first legal document, just so we go back to the beginning of the story, was Cassie's complaint.
Complaint.
That was a legal document. It's a civil document,
Yes.
just so everybody understands. This is not the cops coming after you.
Right.
This is just somebody filing a thing against me, let's say me, God forbid,
Yeah.
let's not even use me as an example, against Sean Combs, saying, hey, this guy abused me in this way, bullet point 1. Charge number 2, he did this offense. Charge number 3, he did this offense. It's a civil case. I want money. I want to be made whole. I want maybe some kind of damages brought. I want him to suffer somehow, but it's not a criminal case that she brought.
No, but it opened up the door to criminal cases.
It did open the door. And I found it interesting when I read that complaint, the Cassie complaint today, and I read all the way through it. And I know the Mr. Jones one is more maybe detailed, but Cassie was kind of the first domino against Sean Puffy Combs. Tell me why it does this. You as a criminal defense attorney, from your expertise, is that even though she's bringing this civil case and she's filing it against him, she references and bootstraps to all these criminal codes.
See, this is how the government works. The government is like a sleeping giant, and the government listens. And if the government hears something, it acts. So when the lawsuit was filed by Cassie, it raised eyebrows. But then when the Lil Rod Jones came out, it really raised eyebrows. Now, to go back to Cassie, all right, so Cassie's lawsuit, in my opinion, was a blunder on the part of Sean Combs to settle. He should have never settled that, because by settling that, in my opinion, it invited the sharks who saw the blood to go after P. Diddy. And now it opened the floodgates. Now it's open season on Sean Combs.
You don't think he should have settled?
No.
So she hit him with this complaint, legal complaint or civil lawsuit. He settled the next day.
Because here's what I think happened. I think based on, and again, I'm not a civil attorney. I'm a criminal defense attorney, but I have experience in civil law and I understand civil law. My understanding is that there was threats going on by both sides. We're going to sue you, Sean, if you don't pay us. He called his bluff. Sean said, go ahead. I don't believe you're going to do it. I don't believe that Cassie's going to come out and say all these things, because it's going to embarrass the crap out of herself. So he called her bluff, and Cassie went through, and Cassie was like, okay, I'm going to expose you, including myself.
Do we know that for sure? Or is
this is all speculation on my behalf, based on the timeline. So
educated speculation.
And guessing going on.
But it makes sense. What you're saying is she probably gave him a chance.
Of course. There's a demand letter in civil law. You send a demand. I demand this, and the other lawyer said, we're not going to do it, and they filed a lawsuit.
Yeah.
And that's when he shut it down immediately. Said, you know what? This is real. We're going to shut this thing down. So
do we know how much he paid her to shut it down?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't for like 7 digits minimum, maybe even 10 digits, $10 million or more. He's worth a lot of money. But I don't know.
But as soon as he did that, it seems like other people, whether justified or not, they saw blood in the water.
Of course. That's my opinion. I would have never settled that suit. Had he never settled that suit, I don't think anything else would have happened. And I want to point something out to you also. So when you say, if I go on TV right now and I say Tony P is committing fraud, people are listening. And that's going to open up the floodgates. With this lawsuit, by injecting it in the system, it got noticed.
Yeah, like in her lawsuit, in Cassie's first cause of action, sex trafficking under 18 USC section 1591. Okay, so you're putting the criminal code right there in front of the court, and you're saying, I'm not bringing a criminal action. I'm fucking suing him for civil damages. But here's the criminal code I think he violated.
Do you know why they're doing that?
Tell me.
They're flagging the federal government. They're flagging him on the record, and they're saying there was crimes committed, and we want you to investigate. Typically, civil complaints don't read like an indictment.
That's what I'm saying.
And the reason they're doing this is a strategy so that they get the public aware and they get the government aware that there's illegal activities going on to the point where the government can't ignore it.
Right.
So if you take a microphone like this and you go out in public and you tell people that there's violations of racketeering, there's violations of illegal sexual activity, there's violations of minors that are being used for illegal sexual activity, that there's coercion of faith for the purposes of illegal sexual activity or transportation of sexual activity, guess what? The government's going to come after you. It's just plain and simple.
She also mentioned human trafficking, both in New York state laws and under California state laws.
Right.
So she's throwing U.S. federal criminal codes out in her civil complaint. She's putting out state laws in her complaint that she's linking to. This is Cassie. And sexual assault, you said that.
Yes.
Gender motivated violence, which is a New York statute.
Yeah.
Sexual harassment and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, she brings the civil case. He settles it the next day, thinks he's squashing it.
Right.
You say, RJ, what a mistake.
Huge mistake. In fact, he's probably kicking himself in the ass saying I should have never settled that case to begin with. Because if he fought it, then yes, it would make things a little worse because now he's going to have to be deposed. And he doesn't want to be deposed. But on the flip side, if he is truly innocent, I would have told him, I said, Sean, did you do this? If he's told me, RJ, I didn't do this, I swear to you, then I would probably say, let's not settle this case. Let's be deposed and fight this case, because if we settle this case right now, everybody's going to be coming after you.
And in a nutshell, what is she saying he was doing? I mean, without going through, we talked about all the different causes of action she brought, or causes of action. But in a nutshell, he was kind of using, by her allegations, reading Cassie's complaint, he was an older man with a lot of power, with a lot of respect in the business, with a lot of muscle, with a lot of maybe even violence behind him, and even battery and ability to hit and kick, if you believe her.
Right.
And so he used all of that to essentially control her entire life and to force her into a relationship with him, and coerce might be more apropos, and basically corner her into a long-lasting sexual relationship with him, which he then expanded into weirder areas, like having her physically be with other men that he recruited, and that he actually had her recruit, which he also videotaped, apparently. Where are those videos?
Well, we're going to get into that. Those videos may be confiscated from his house. They did a whole raid, a military-style raid, where they went in and they took all the computers, all the hard drives. But here's the thing with the Cassie thing. You know, she was with him for 10 years. Why did she walk away? Why did she let that happen for 10 years?
I'm going to hit you harder with that question when we get into Mr. Jones, by the way.
Yeah,
it's a fair question for Cassie as well.
Right.
Why didn't she?
Why,
forced to do all these sex acts?
Or is it regrettable sex acts? Did she do it and then regret it?
And then how do we, it's an interesting point, because also you kind of read analysis that says she was coerced or forced into sex acts. Otherwise, he told her she would not be up for a Grammy.
So what? Go home.
Okay.
Go home.
Is that force?
No, not in my opinion.
It's not physical force for sure.
No.
If we're going to steel man her argument, she'll say, I didn't have an option. Of course, a girl's got to go after her Grammy.
But that's not rape.
No.
So let me explain something to you. If she's having sex because she thinks it's going to further her career and then she regrets it, that's not a crime at all. It could be a civil lawsuit. Absolutely. In some way.
It's an abuse of power.
Perhaps. I don't know, but it's not a crime. So that's why I'm telling you.
So that's not rape of any kind if you were to psychologically trick a woman or corner a woman or use your power and authority. She works for your record label. You have her signed to a multi-million-dollar deal, presumably. You hold the keys to the kingdom that she wants so bad.
That's a loaded question. So I would answer that question by telling you it depends on the facts of the case. If he forced her at any point in time physically or threatened her, it would be rape.
Threatened her, but not physically.
So rape is the unconsensual sexual act. If she consented, then it's not rape. So let's just say, and I'm not saying this happened, let's just say he does some Tucci, I think they call it Tucci, ecstasy and cocaine
drug
mix.
that he really likes to do.
The drug of choice that he created, that Sean Combs created, a pink drug that you do, and that gets you basically in a sexual mood. If she was doing that to please Sean Combs, and then she had regret about that, that's not rape. And the problem that I have as a criminal defense attorney is, why would you keep doing that over and over again when you have the door right there? Nobody's holding you there. Nobody's forcing you to keep going back. Now, she could make an argument in civil court that, she felt compelled because, like the Harvey Weinstein case, that he was a person of power and there was some gender discrimination. Sure. But is it a crime? No. In my opinion. Again, I don't know the facts of the case, but certainly if there was a crime, you'd think the police would get involved, right, Tony, at some point?
Listen, it's a really interesting question. And just from a legal doctrine standpoint, at what point is force for rape purposes physical versus verbal versus threats?
Well,
threats could be just verbal, right?
Sure.
Like, I will do X, so and so and so.
Sure.
If it's the threat of physical harm.
If it happened one time, I could probably say it was rape, but she's making a contention that it happened more than once. So my question to Cassie is, why didn't you just walk away? The first time, okay, you got raped, but over and over again? It doesn't seem to me a criminal in nature. It seems to me that she was doing it to appease Sean Combs. And then later on, when Sean Combs didn't pay her what she wanted, what she thought she was deserved, she basically threw everything in the kitchen sink at him.
I wanted to show a little picture of the Tucci you were talking about. It's a drug which is part of the complaint that Mr. Jones brings later. We're going to talk about, but we're just assuming here that during Cassie's time, this is probably also going on.
She's making allegations of drug use, so I'm only assuming it's Tucci. Again, these are all educated speculation on my part.
Right. It's a pink drug combining ecstasy and cocaine, and it kind of looks like that.
Did he invent that? I didn't even heard of that. You could mix ecstasy and coke together, and it comes out to be a pink drug that makes you happy and horny at the same time?
Sounds like a crazy night.
Sounds like he invented something. Sounds like Sean Combs invented a new drug that we didn't even know about, Tucci. How did he even get that name?
Yeah.
Is it from Stanley Tucci, the actor?
I doubt it. It's spelled Tuci.
Yeah.
So, there was mention in Cassie's complaint against Sean Combs of a lot of different illicit drugs.
Yeah.
Now, marijuana for sure, but that's not even illegal. Most places.
Most places, yeah.
Gummies, whatever.
Who cares, yeah.
What did they talk about? They talked about cocaine. They talked about ecstasy. They talked about lacing champagne with ecstasy.
Right.
What else? They mentioned
a whole slew of
GHB, ketamine, and mushrooms. So these are among the things that he's being accused of distributing. Okay?
Right.
Well, so we know he had crazy parties. We know he had crazy ladies around that liked to party. For sure.
Nothing wrong with that.
There was this pink powder on the table that I'm sure was a good time.
Right.
And then all these other illicit drugs.
Okay.
Does that really mean he's distributing drugs?
Well, Brendan Paul got arrested, and he was his drug mule, allegedly, at the airport. They busted him with a lot of drugs. So it looked like he had somebody bringing drugs everywhere. He needed, according to Lil Rod's lawsuit, that he needed the drug of choice everywhere he went. And he had a private jet, and it was very easy. By the way, if you have a private jet, they don't have security clearance, so you could just bring anybody on the plane. You could bring dead bodies on the plane. You could bring drugs on the plane. You could do whatever you want. But the feds were keen on this time, so they followed Brendan Paul because I believe they got confidential informant information that Brendan Paul was his drug mule. That wasn't a coincidence that they arrested him at the airport. They knew what was going on.
Was there definitely a connection between Brendan Paul and Sean Combs, though? Before they arrested him?
Of course.
Is he a person of interest only through the Sean Combs lens?
I will tell you that the federal government will not arrest you unless they know that you've committed a crime.
Yeah, but if you're at the airport and you have drugs on you.
How did he know he had drugs on him?
He might have got popped by the airport security.
I don't think so. I think
dogs?
I think in this case, they knew he was going to the airplane. They had inside. Again, I don't know. It's just my guess that they knew Brendan Paul was going to be delivering drugs to P. Diddy based on CI information. And we'll get into that, by the way.
We'll get into it.
Yeah, confidential informant. But you know, what I want to do right now, Tony, with your blessing, I'd like to go over some of the highlights in the case.
Consider it blessed. Let's go.
All right. Before I do that, can I tell you, I love this tea I've been drinking, Oi Ocha. I'm drinking it now.
I've noticed you've had it every single episode, and we haven't done that many episodes yet, but you've had it every single time.
I've been drinking this for 20 years.
Okay. What do you love about it?
So it's green tea. Green tea is amazing for everything. It cures a lot of cancers, anxiety. I have high anxiety.
Can I say we're not being paid to say this right now?
Yeah.
This is not an actual
not
official
an
ad.
No.
But you actually legitimately love this.
I'm not getting paid by this company.
I know. I just want to clarify.
I'm only advertising because I love it so much, and it calms me down, and it helps me relax.
How do you pronounce the name of the company?
It's Oi Ocha.
Oi Ocha, are you guys listening out there? You going to make this guy an official brand sponsor or what?
And it's unsweetened green tea. And if one of these a day keeps the cancer away.
Very
like
nice.
that.
I love it.
Yeah. So my understanding is, based on reading the report, this complaint, which is 100 pages about, and I read it thoroughly, there's a lot of allegations. And let's go through the allegations.
So this is after he settled Cassie, Mr. Jones came out with a complaint.
Yeah.
This is what you're about to read.
Yes.
And I want to say big picture, after Cassie, Jane Doe 1 came out, Jane Doe 2 came out, Jane Doe 3 came out, John Doe 1 came out. That's Mr. Jones.
Yes.
A bunch of people came out and said, me too. I also was assaulted and
Yeah.
sexually trafficked and
Yeah.
drugged. Please go ahead. Give us the highlights of what he said.
All right. So basically, little Rodney Jones is a producer. He was producing, I think, his Love album or something. And he brought this lawsuit because, again, he went on the internet and said, Sean Combs has not paid me. And just for Sean Combs' defense, he never mentioned that Sean Combs did all these illegal activities. He just said, I haven't got paid. It's not fair. But then, some time passed and they filed a lawsuit. And this is what is contending. He's contending that Sean Combs violated RICO laws. What is RICO? That's the same thing that you charge mafia. RICO is the Racketeer Influence Corruption Act, which basically means that if I have a business, right, if I have a record company and I have record artists that are recording and I'm doing illegal activity under that umbrella, that whole business is illegal. Okay? So kind of like think about Death Row Records and Suge Knight, right? So if Suge Knight is running a recording studio and is dealing drugs and all that, but he happens to be a record producer and owner, that could be considered RICO. So if you have an empire and you have minions doing illegal things, they could get you for RICO.
Right.
Make sense?
And yeah, like you brought up the early gangs in Chicago, the Italian mobsters,
Right.
New York City back in the day.
Right.
You'd have like mobsters, I'm kind of exaggerating this, but you'd have like top dogs sitting at the top of an organization
Yeah.
just secretly signaling the next move.
Right.
A certain color of pasta they ate that day or
Right.
whatever who they hugged or kissed. Secret little signals where no one's going to say, yeah, he told me to go kill guy number one.
Yeah.
No one.
That's right.
So then the law said, we got to figure this out. So RICO, racketeering influenced corrupt organization.
Yes. So
hey, you didn't order. You may not have verbally ordered it or even written it down, but we know you signaled for all this to happen. We know you're the man behind all of this.
Yeah.
Even though we have no evidence of you doing any of it.
well, it's a conspiracy. RICO is a conspiracy allegation. So it's, you could use what other people have done to prove that you are basically the head honcho, that you're running the show, and that everything in your organization is being done illegally, which is pretty easy and difficult. If you have cooperating witnesses, it could be very easy, but if you don't, it could be very difficult. But let's jump right into it. So Mr. Combs allegedly required Mr. Jones, I'm going to call him Mr. Jones, Rodney Jones, to record him constantly, which is not a crime. But according to Jones, on several occasions, he took Mr. Jones' cell phone, and Mr. Jones secured hundreds of hours of footage of audio recordings of Combs and his guests engaging in serious illegal activity. And for the people that are on the internet, if you're asking where I got that information from, you could look on page 7 of 73. And I know what the internet's going to say. These are all allegations. And yes, Mr. Combs is innocent until proven guilty. I'm just telling you the allegations. So he allegedly has all these videos of illegal activity. Next.
Can I ask a question on
Yeah.
that? Because I could, if I wanted to really badly, I could walk into the courthouse tomorrow morning and file a civil complaint just identical to this.
Yes.
Against you.
Yes.
And I could say I've filmed this guy for podcasts for hours and hours and hours, and I have evidence of him doing really illicit, illegal activities. I could say that. And
Sure.
they'll write that in the complaint, and it'll be printed, and you'll read it. Is there any kind of evidentiary bar to making that claim, or is it simply at this point just a claim?
No, there's ethical rules that you can't just make things up unless you have good faith corroboration. I can't just make things up about you, because then what happens is your lawyer is going to sue me for attorney's fees.
So you think that Lil Rod's lawyer, in helping him bring this civil suit, had to have done some filtering and some kind of evidentiary sort of analysis to say this is good enough to put on paper and file with the court.
Correct. I think his name is Troy Blackburn. So Mr. Blackburn sat down with Mr. Jones and talked to him, and he believed him, and he asked him, he said, listen, if we're going to bring this against Mr. Combs, I need corroborating evidence. And according to Blackburn, who was interviewed recently, he saw the videos, he said. He's going to back it up. So
He's not likely to lie about
if
that.
he does, he's in trouble.
I mean, he's a member of the bar.
He will be disbarred.
He's not going to...
I'm letting you know he's going to be disbarred if he lied. So that's why I'm saying it's an extreme. If he lied, he's going to lose his license.
So thank you for that analysis, because that helps me kind of come down on the side of these videos probably exist.
Maybe they do, but let's, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. All right. But let's go some more. So the videos exist. Why did Homeland Security go in? Homeland Security went in. They retrieved all the videos of Sean Combs' home from Los Angeles to Florida. Los Angeles, he's being represented by Sean Hawley, who's an attorney, very famous attorney. We used to work with Johnny Cochran. And he's got Aaron Dyer, who's a former AUSA, Assistant United States Attorney from New York. He's got top-notch people working for him right now. And what happened was Homeland Security was able to obtain the warrant, and I'll tell you why. Because Mr. Jones said he has irrefutable evidence, which means there's no doubt his lawyer watched the evidence, he has the evidence, and this is the goods that allegedly they have on him. They supposedly have evidence of him acquiring the use and distribution of ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, mushrooms. He says there's evidence on the video of displaying and distribution of unregistered illegal firearms. He claims that Mr. Combs provided laced alcohol to minors and sex workers, which is another nice way of saying prostitutes, at the homes in California, New York, and the Virgin Islands and Florida. And the complaint itself says, and listen to this, quote, the writer, who was the lawyer, spoke to several employees of the yacht rented by Mr. Combs in the Virgin Islands who personally witnessed Coram. Miss Coram is the chief executive officer for Mr. Combs. They witnessed Miss Coram instruct her staff. Listen to this, Tony. They have allegedly several employees that heard Coram, and it's spelled Khorram. I think her name is Kareem. That she instructed Brendan Paul, the drug mule, Frankie Santella, and Moy Bon, who is, I think, in charge of security or one of the head people over there, to spike bottles of champagne with ecstasy.
Yeah.
Where did I find that information? Page 873 of
Mr. Jones' complaint. Yeah, Miss Christina Karam is being sort of held out as the Ghislaine
Maxwell. Yeah.
To his Jeffrey Epstein.
Right. So they're saying that she is to Puff Daddy, or sorry, Sean Combs, to what Ghislaine Maxwell was to Epstein. Basically, she knew what was going on, and she's grooming all these people to do what makes Sean Combs happy. Again, these are all allegations, and Mr. Combs is innocent until proven guilty.
So is Miss Karam.
Absolutely, everybody is. All we're doing now, we're just talking and speculating and guessing what's happening. So then his son, Christian Combs, allegedly, Sean Combs' son, was drugging and sexually assaulting women. That's what it says. Mm-hmm. Then there's another rapper by the name of Young Miami, pretty rapper. He's a cousin or an assistant, supposedly was sexually assaulting Mr. Jones. Then there's salacious allegations that actor and Academy Award-winning actor Cuba Gooding Jr. was sexually harassing and assaulting Mr. Jones. And there's weird pictures of Cuba Gooding, unusually close to another male, Mr. Jones. What appears to be another
video, allegedly.
Yeah,
we've seen screen grabs of the video in the complaint.
Yeah,
but to my sort of, why aren't the most lewd portions of that video screen grabbed in the complaint? Are they trying to kind of make it a little bit safer to look at for the court?
It's a great question.
Because Cuba Gooding is sitting pretty close, but not too close for comfort. I mean, it's like...
But if there's a video, they'll probably produce the video later. And again, it's sexual... You know what sexual assault means? Assault means that there's an unwanted touching. So if I put my hand on your leg, Tony, and you don't want me to do that, that could be assault. Does that make sense?
It's an unwanted touching in the eyes of the law.
Right.
And so, yes, that perfectly makes sense.
And the other thing is, you got to remember something about Cuba Gooding. He actually pled guilty to groping a lady in Manhattan. So he's got a few skeletons in his closet, which makes it more believable. Does that make sense?
Did he ever plead guilty to groping a man?
No.
Then no, it doesn't necessarily make it more believable to me.
Well, he can't be bisexual?
I'm just saying he can and he may be, but evidence of one is not evidence of the other.
No, but it's prior bad conduct. It's something that could be used in the court of law. I don't know if you know this, but if he ever gets charged again, they could say that you've done this before. It's a prior bad act.
It's a fair point. Here's the picture of Cuba, just so we're looking at it.
Yeah.
Sitting with Mr. Jones in the studio, red light, romantic.
Very romantic.
Marvin Gaye's probably playing in the background. I don't know. We don't know. We haven't seen the video. We've seen screen grabs.
I mean, look at the way he's looking at Rodney Jones. I'm sorry, it's a little too romantic for me. He's a little too chummy there.
Look,
not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just pointing out that
he looks a little predatory. I'm not gonna lie. In this exact screen grab, he's like arching over him. His arm is over him. His face is getting closer.
But it could be a buddy thing. I get drunk and I put my hands around you.
100%. I do this with my guy friends sometimes because we're just like talking smack or drinking and just having a good time and giving each other love, hugs.
And sometimes, as you know, in cultures, like in the Armenian culture, we like to, some guys kiss other guys. It doesn't mean you're assaulting the other guy, right?
It doesn't mean you're gay.
Right.
I'm just kidding. We don't kiss in that way necessarily.
On the cheek.
On the cheek. On the cheek.
I'm just saying sometimes some cultures are affectionate. You put your arm on. It doesn't, just because Cuba Gooding Jr. is doing that, it doesn't necessarily mean that he was acting in a predatorial way.
But Rodney's
claiming that.
Rodney Jones's claim is that Cuba Gooding Jr. is attracted to him and is sexually making unwanted advances. And we're seeing here a photo of a yacht, and apparently there's a whole video of that. I haven't seen it.
But that could be an interpretation that he's using as a strategy to put pressure to have Sean Combs settle the case.
Yeah, it's also not Sean Combs. It's like you're in a case against Sean Combs, and you're like, but also Cuba Gooding did this to me, and you should have known that Cuba was going to do this to me. It was on your boat that Cuba did this to me. And also, your cousin's cousin, Young Miami, she sexually assaulted me. She pushed me into the corner in the bathroom and forcibly tried to pleasure me with
oral sex. Have you ever heard of that?
We hear about it. It's a harder one to believe.
How does a guy get forced into oral sex?
Yeah.
All you have to do is zip up your pants and walk away.
For me, I think I a little bit LOL'd out loud reading the complaint at that portion. Like you had me with, I could conceive of there were guns in the house. Now it's a separate question. Were they unregistered? Were they illegal? Were they being trafficked or were they legally held? Separate question. I could conceive that there were girls in the house, maybe even sex workers, maybe even underage. That's a problem.
Sure.
Drugs in the house. I mean, probably every party house has a lot of drugs, wouldn't you say? I don't know that necessarily means distribution or trafficking. You have to acquire them if you want them in your party house, right?
Sure.
But then this is where they kind of lost me, was like, also, Young Miami, that beautiful hot lady or whatever performer, they said she was an employed sex worker.
Right.
Pushed me into the bathroom and cornered me and pulled off my pants. And as I was peeing, tried to give me oral pleasure.
Yeah.
And I yelled and screamed and pushed her away, but she wrestled me down and forcibly tried to have intercourse with me. It's something like that. Right?
It sounded like she wanted to basically give him oral, and he didn't want that.
But she kept chasing him and pursuing him and physically forcing him to do something. I'm like, what? Really? That's a weird one.
That is strange. And what's also interesting is Lil Rod likes to drop a lot of names in a lawsuit. He insinuated that Chris Brown, the famous singer, that R&B Chris Brown was consorting with underage girls also. And that's page 8 of 73. So he drops names. He drops Chris Brown's name.
Why is he dragging him into this complaint? Just more high celebrity power to the complaint.
In my opinion.
More attention.
You want to know my opinion? Because he wants Chris Brown, he wants Cuba Gooding to give Sean Combs a call and say,
be like,
better
bro,
effing settle this case right now, bro. I'm going to be taking you down big time.
Big time. Get my name out of the news.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. Absolutely.
So it's a strategy. It's a legal
complete strategy.
It could be a shakedown.
It is a shakedown. I call this the kitchen sink lawsuit. They're throwing everything in the kitchen sink and seeing what sticks. So that's a part of it. And then furthermore, it talks about the shooting incident that involved Combs and his son, which in my opinion, this is where I think the feds are going to get involved. The feds don't really get involved in Hollywood parties and drugs. And yes, they do a little, not the feds, but states get involved in that. The feds get involved when there's like, interstate commerce, transportation, and even that, it could be state. But here's the thing. When, according to the lawsuit, Combs's young son, I don't know if it was King or the other one, Justin, I'm sorry, it was Justin. Justin Combs, who's Sean Combs' son, had a fight, an argument with Mr. G in the complaint. We don't know who Mr. G is.
They were at a recording studio in LA called, let me get the name.
I don't know what the recording studio is, but allegedly that there was a fight going on. And listen to this. This is where it gets very, very interesting. Mr. Jones.
CRS Studios in LA.
Right, CRS Studios. So allegedly, Mr. Rodney Jones claims he was 2 feet away from the bathroom when he heard gunshots ringing out. Then he recalls multiple gunshots. And for the people that are watching the podcast, it's on page 8 of 73 of the complaint. According to Mr. Jones, Rodney
they're all
Jones,
hanging out at the studio.
They're all hanging out.
Also, I remember reading that there was a little bit of an argument, or there was a disagreement between Sean Combs, his son, and what was his name? G.
Mr. G.
Mr. G or G?
Yeah, Mr. G.
So there was a little bit of an altercation, I remember reading, a bit of a disagreement, and then they went to the bathroom.
Yeah. And then when they went to the bathroom, basically what happened was, there's gunshots that came out that he heard. And then when the door finally opened, Mr. Jones, Lil Rod, claims that his son and Sean Combs exited. And then he saw Mr. G, lying on the restroom floor, and he was in the fetal position, meaning he was curled up, he was holding his stomach, and he was bleeding out of his leg/hip area. I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. I'm going to guarantee you, Tony, Mr. G will be subpoenaed. And if Mr.
Oh, he lived?
Yeah.
That wasn't a murder? It was just a shooting? I was so mistaken. I thought he died.
No, and they lied. They had the security, Moy Bond, said that he was shot outside by drive-by shooting. Moy Bond apparently had connections to the police, so they believed him. So he distracted him.
By the way, Lil Rod, Mr. Jones, explicitly says that Sean Combs came and told him to tell the police that the shooting happened out front the studio.
I believe you're right.
That's even crazier, right? That's even a bigger allegation. If you believe in Lil Rod, if you believe in Mr. Jones,
yes,
he's saying, dude, I was a foot away from the wall. These guys had an altercation. They went in the bathroom and freaking shot this kid. I don't know who pulled the trigger, if it was Sean Combs or his son, but they went in there. They came out and that G was shot.
Right.
And then Sean Combs allegedly told Mr. Jones, told Mr. Jones, you better tell the police this happened as a drive-by shooting outside the studio, out front.
You're 100% right, Tony.
I don't get this.
That's on page, you hit the nail on the head. That's on page 9 of 73. Mr. Combs, it says, literally, Mr. Combs gave strict instructions to inform the police that he had nothing to do with the shooting. He also forced Mr. Jones to lie to the police by telling them that G was shot outside the studio by a drive-by assailant.
Okay, am I so stupid? Wouldn't the simplest forensic analysis be able to determine whether the person was standing outside when they were shot at high speed by a car moving versus at close range in the bathroom?
You would think. But the problem is, I think they cleaned up the bathroom. So they bleached it up and they cleaned up the whole crime scene. So the police had nothing to say that they were lying.
So I could...
And G, I don't think G told him that Sean Combs shot him. I don't think G said Sean Combs shot me. I think he was complicit also.
We haven't heard whether I haven't heard from anyone, and we haven't read any witness statements yet that say who pulled the trigger.
Right.
But we have one eyewitness account so far, which is Mr. Jones, saying they went in the bathroom, the three of them,
right.
Sean Combs, his son, and this victim. And then there was multiple gunshots. And then the victim, G, was on the ground bleeding.
Yeah.
And a small crowd gathered.
Yes.
And no one helped.
And that crowd, according to the lawsuit, the lawyer spoke to that crowd and he's got their statements, Tony. He spoke to them and they got corroborating witnesses. That's why I'm telling you.
Really? Because I was just about to say, where's the crowd?
Well, according to page 10 of 73, they got him.
Wow.
They got him.
That's big. If that crowd is there and they can corroborate this happened, and if Sean Combs did go to Mr. Jones and say, you need to tell the police this happened outside on the sidewalk,
Right.
not in the bathroom.
Yeah.
That's bad for
And
Sean
that's
Combs.
that's a part of the RICO predicate.
But can I try to give him the biggest benefit of the doubt?
Sure.
Steel man him?
We should.
So maybe he didn't say that and Rodney Jones is lying.
He could be.
He never said, tell the police this.
Could be.
And maybe he did go in the bathroom, but he didn't shoot anybody.
The problem with that is, according to the lawsuit, and there's an ethical standard, the lawyer's saying he corroborated it with several witnesses. So it's a done deal.
Corroborated that Sean Combs tried to actively cover up the shooting after the fact and tried to make everybody lie to the police after the fact.
It doesn't say exactly that, but that's my understanding.
That's what we're assuming.
Yeah.
What's really extra bad, RJ, and let's look at this. I know you've seen it, but for everybody with us, look at the bathroom photos. I mean, Lil Rod puts photos in his civil complaint.
Yeah, by the way, that crime scene to me means they cleaned it up. There's no way somebody would get shot and there'd be just blood splatter here and there. You could see the towels, you could see the blankets, you could see somebody clean up the crime scene.
So you think there would be way more blood than this?
Oh, yeah.
Multiple gunshots in the bathroom at close range. I mean, there's a pool of blood on the ground, a little bit on the toilet, but you're right.
Take a look closer. You'll see the white towels have blood on them. You'll see the brown towels have blood. Somebody's cleaning up. Mm-hmm. So
look at all those towels in the trash.
So the blood, it's not consistent with somebody that got shot in the hip area or the stomach. It would be a lot more blood. Somebody cleaned it up.
There's a pant leg or an entire shorts or pants just laid over the toilet. Why would that be there? Is it to cover something, or was it?
Who knows? I don't know.
While they were trying to administer first aid or life-saving.
Don't know.
Mr. Jones claims the small crowd formed. Nobody did anything, and he was the one to jump into action and finally help get the shooting victim up and out and into an ambulance.
Yeah, Mr. Jones claims that the clothing he wore, that he said that he has the clothing of Mr. G, and it's in a lawsuit, and he believes he has the stains that will show the DNA belongs to Mr. G. And Mr. Jones also claims that throughout living with Mr. Combs, as you know, he's living with Mr. Combs during this recording, Sean Combs had a weird way of working. He invited people to live with them for a while. Maybe that's normal and maybe that's not normal. He did that with Justin Bieber.
I would definitely say it's not normal necessarily.
Especially with Justin Bieber. He did that with Justin Bieber. He did it with Usher. He went to, there's a camp called Puff Daddy's Flavor Camp.
It is normal for recording albums. I've many friends in bands who will go live in a little mansion on the beach and record an album or a barn and a farm somewhere just to be isolated together as a crew. But here's producing an album, right? He was producing an album.
Yeah, but for a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old?
Well, who was that?
Usher?
No.
And Justin Bieber? They were 15 and 13. Is that normal for a parent to just say, take my kid and you go with some stranger to record albums?
Right. That's a little Michael Jackson vibes-y a little bit.
And where are the parents regard? Where's Usher's mom and dad? I like to speak to them.
To Steelman on the Sean Combs side of it, he's spotting prodigy talents, and he wants to pull them as close into his orbit as possible.
That's fine, but why do you have to actually go live with the guy? Why can't you go to the recording studio and just record? Mm-hmm. That's a separate issue, but so that's a little weird. But Mr. Jones is claiming that while he was living with Mr. Combs, that he was the victim of unsolicited and unauthorized groping and touching of his anus.
Yeah.
How about that?
How about it?
So that's pretty detailed. And then he claims
but have you ever had a guy friend that was that annoying guy that would walk by and just flick you in the private parts and it would hurt?
No.
I have. It hurts. You never had like that annoying dude at the barbecue who walks by and is like, "What's up, bro?"
Hell no.
Just gives you a little flick just like so that you're like, "Oh,
you got to change your friends." I got to get.
You're
new
absolutely
friends.
not wrong.
I mean, if you're being hit in the genitals for jokes, I think that's strange. That's never happened to me.
There's definitely guys that'll flick you here and there as a joke.
What?
Or this was a little bit more like to be explicit. He complained about being touched in the anus.
Yeah, in the anus, but
through pants or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, have you ever slapped a guy friend on the butt for fun? Like, hey, nice one.
On the butt.
Of course,
okay.
You have. Maybe
I haven't.
I have. I mean,
I've never
during basketball, they make a great play. Or if I just see him and I haven't seen him in a while. Nothing.
Whatever happened to the high fives? Why are you going for the ass?
Sometimes high fives are like almost too formal or like, I don't know. It's like you're just messing with each other. It's just physical rough housing
What
and
about
fun.
the pounding? No more pounding, chest bumping?
Pounding? What are we talking about here?
But why do you have to spank somebody in the ass to let them know that you're happy?
I feel like pounding. I don't know.
Pounding, body, chest? I don't know. Hug?
That's more intimate, the pounding.
Okay.
Listen, I'm really trying to steel man it a little bit. Honestly, is he just a touchy-feely dude?
He could be.
You know, like touchy-feely, like, oh, hey, what's up? What's going on?
Could be.
And I want to, while we're on this issue of touchy-feely, did you see the video going around online about where he sees Justin Bieber in the
Yes.
side of a road, and then he like talking to him, and people are like, Sean Combs is checking Justin Bieber for a wire. Have you seen that video?
I did see that one.
I'm going to show it to you.
But I've seen other videos of him doing weird things, like him touching Mike Tyson while he was on Arsenio Hall, and he lifts Mike Tyson, takes Combs' hand and literally moves it away from him.
I
and you
love
see
that you brought that up. We're going to debunk that one.
And
I'm going to debunk that.
you're going to debunk it?
I'm going to debunk it.
All right.
And of course, I'm a massive Joe Rogan fan, and I
Yeah.
did see that clip on the Rogan podcast.
Okay.
And normally they would have debunked it, but somehow they didn't catch it. It slipped past them, so I'm going to debunk it.
Yeah. Well. Okay.
So
So
let's look at Justin Bieber and Sean Puffy Combs running into each other somewhere, hanging out.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying, or a lot of people online are saying, look at the way he is touching Justin Bieber's chest. He's kind of tapping him down, looking for a wire. Look at him. Hey, bro, you got a wire? Let me check here. Let me check there. No, you look clean. Okay, now I'm going to tell you something. Now that I know you don't have a wire, I'm going to tell you something. Okay, good, we're out. That's what people are saying.
That's
look at it
very
again.
interesting.
Let's look at it again.
Let me see that again.
Here's what I see. Can I debunk? How about a guy who's touchy-feely, and when he talks to his buddies, he messes with their shirt? And in order to emphasize, he touches you in different places.
You know, that interpretation could be anything. I'm going to give him a pass on that one.
I am too. Bill Clinton famously would put his hand on people's shoulder to emphasize the point he was making. To emphasize, it was like he was lauded, what's the word? As a strategic, amazing body language expert. Like he would put the hand on the shoulder, maybe even move it a little. It's emphasizing physically the point that they're making. And here I see Sean Combs not checking for a wire. I see him talking really intimately and closely with his friend, this other artist, Justin Bieber, and just in such an intimate way that you could only do with someone that you're tight, literally messing with the guy's shirt, pinching a little bit of cloth, like, hey, what's up? Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's. Do you remember when there was people make big deals out of nothing? Do you remember
touching him with his knuckles? It's just emphasizing the dialogue that they're having. That's all.
There's a lot of touchy-feely people.
Yeah.
You could make something out of nothing on the internet. You know that.
Something out of nothing.
Yeah.
Let's quickly go to Tyson. Okay, it's right here. I pulled it up because I'm so happy you brought it up. And here it is. And I even marked it. If you guys want to go watch that video of him on the Keenan Ivory Wayans show, Mike Tyson and
I said Arsenio Hall. I'm sorry.
But you meant the Keenan one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Go to minute 235.
Yeah.
And let's watch it because there's so this went around the internet and you saw it too, and I did see it too, and I got on the Rogan podcast. I was like, oh my God, that's wild. Like, what's P.Diddy doing? Is he like actually reaching back and trying to touch Mike Tyson?
No,
Mike Tyson's getting uncomfortable and he's moving out of the way and he's pushing his hand away, right?
Yeah, he literally takes his hand and removes it.
But let's debunk it because
that's what it looked like to me. But I don't think that's a big deal.
But when you really go to it,
there's nothing against the law for he being touchy-feely. I mean, my brother's very touchy-feely too. It doesn't mean that he's a bad guy. Some people are just like that.
100% agree. But I think it's taken totally out of context because when you go to 235 and we kind of look at it and listen to what they're talking about, they're kind of having this conversation about bling. Watch. It's all about the bling. Watch. So Tyson's going to now say, it's all about the bling, I'm telling you, and he's going to grab Diddy's hand to show off his watch. So they're kind of talking smack.
Let me see that.
And watch.
It truly is about the Benjamins, as we see. Oh, yeah.
The Benjamins. The Benjamins. So he says,
Yeah, but look what look
he
what
says it truly is about the Benjamins. He lifts P. Diddy's hand up where it's just covered in bling, gold rings and a bracelet to kind of show that off. It truly is about the Benjamins. Then he sits sideways to see that jewelry better as he talks about it. That's my take on it. Take a look. Tell me if I'm wrong. I want to hear it. I want to hear it if I'm wrong.
I don't have problems with that.
Well, it truly is about the Benjamins. Let me see. Oh,
Yeah.
And then he
And
turns
he's looking.
and he's looking at the Benjamins.
Right.
So,
So Tony,
that's not P. Diddy trying to touch Mike Tyson.
So the thing is, when somebody accuses somebody of something, when you go back and look at the videos, your perception has changed. It's not that you're discovering something new. You're looking at it through different lenses now.
yes.
The guilty lens. Like, okay, let's find something guilty. It looks suspicious.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. And I tried to look at these two little things that were going viral today in the most neutral lens. And I kind of saw them and I was like, these are absolutely nothing.
I agree.
So like maybe they played it without the audio, but you did see this body language of Tyson turning away and moving Puff Daddy's hand away. I literally thought it was a moment where Tyson was getting physically uncomfortable by the presence of P. Diddy in a overly touchy, unwanted, touchy way. I literally thought
See,
that.
that's context. So you didn't have the full context.
Yeah.
So without the audio, it looks bad. With the audio, you understand the context, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So that's what lawyers do. You basically steelman it. You lawyered him up. You basically proved that it wasn't what we saw.
Right.
But let's keep going. So it's not just the touchy-feely. Fine, Combs is touchy-feely. All right, we all know it's touchy-feely. No big deal.
I mean, Mr. Jones is not saying that Sean Combs had intercourse with him or anything like that.
No, but Mr. Jones is accusing Mr. Combs of accessing different people,
Creating sexual situations. And then watching them.
yeah, including somebody named Stevie J. I believe he's a record producer, and then his knowledge of Mr. Jones' admiration of Stevie J to groom and entice Mr. Jones to engage in homosexual activity. Is that BS? I don't know. It could be.
Mr. Jones says he's a straight Christian man.
Right. He says he's a straight Christian man. So again, take it for what it is. And
Otherwise known as gay. I'm just
okay.
Total joke. Of course.
And then
Stupid joke.
Mr. Combs went so far as to share a video. Okay, just listen to this. He's sharing a video with his lawyer of Stevie J. I apologize. I'm just reading for the complaint of anally penetrating a Caucasian male without a condom. And there's a photo of it inside of Stevie J.
I have it. I'm going to pull it up
Pull it
right
up.
here.
And it does.
Doesn't this beg the question of where did this photo come from?
Well, it came probably from the videos of his house.
Secret videos?
Secret videos. And apparently he had, I don't know if you know, that Combs had videos everywhere like Epstein, inside his house, in the bathrooms, everywhere. So that's the problem that I have for Mr. Combs. If they go through thousands of hours of videos, there's going to be something on there. I mean, not all of this, Tony. Let's just say 99% of it is BS. If there's 1% that's true, I'm sorry to say, Sean Combs is in trouble.
It sounds like it.
If it's 1% truth in this, he's in trouble.
Right.
That's 1%.
Right. Again, some of the charges you and I kind of scoff at, like a female forcing him into oral sex.
That seems weird. But just one.
It's very different than if the genders were reversed, obviously. But then there's all these other ones. And now this allegation that he has secret cameras hidden all throughout his homes. And through those secret cameras, Sean Combs obtained footage of Stevie J and another man having intercourse. Here's the screen grab from that. It's kind of graphic. But here it is. And this is one of the screen grabs that was in Mr. Jones's complaint.
Yeah.
So in his civil complaint, it's a series of screen grabs, but he obviously claims, hey, I have this entire video. And his lawyer, as you said, corroborates, dude, we have the video.
Allegedly. Let's keep using the word allegedly and give Mr. Combs a benefit of doubt. But these are all allegations, right, Tony? We don't know that.
These are allegations. My question is, if this indeed is a screen grab from such a video, is this from a hidden camera?
Well, I don't think Stevie J wanted him to be recorded having sex with another man.
I don't think so either, but I have no way of knowing one way or the other whether they're making a tape.
And Stevie J has come out, I believe, in his defense and said it's complete nonsense, and I think is going to take legal retaliatory action
Against Sean Combs.
Yeah, so I want to be fair to all the parties. Everybody has denied it. Young Miami has denied it. Stevie J has denied it. Everybody's denying it.
But knowing what we know now at this moment, it's not inconceivable that these were hidden cameras.
Could be.
And so the allegation from Mr. Jones is that Diddy gave this video to him and said, hey, check it out. This is what I got on Stevie J. Look what he's into. Trying to entice Mr. Jones into some kind of a homosexual relationship.
And not only that, but according to the the complaint, according to Rodney Jones, Mr. Combs allegedly told Jones, quote, this is a normal practice in the music industry. Look, even Stevie J is doing it, end quote, meaning that if you want to be in the business, you have to, pay your dues, sexual dues.
Right. And this isn't the first time we've heard about that kind of level of corruption in the entertainment
Harvey
business.
Weinstein, perfect example.
Yeah. That was more in the movie side of things, but yes.
Yes,
Harvey. Music as well. You hear about it.
How about R. Kelly? Same thing with R. Kelly. They allege that he, used young artists. He allegedly married Aaliyah when he was 15. This is a part, I think, of the culture in the Hollywood recording industry. I think there's a lot of people that are being taken advantage of. I don't have any proof of that. It just seems like that to me. Doesn't it seem like that to you, Tony?
Yes, I think that when you have people that get too powerful and have too much money, a lot of it coming from sort of this creative ego that they have where they are able to put out hits that people do respond to and get millions of sales and they make shit tons of money. It does seem to help inflate the ego quite a bit.
Sure.
And almost create a maniacal kind of megalomaniac type of personality. It doesn't always happen. Some people stay super humble.
Absolutely.
In amazing success. I don't think Warren Buffett is doing this kind of stuff.
Well, he's not in the entertainment industry.
He's not in the
I'm only talking about
he's not in entertainment.
Yeah.
But in the entertainment business, it surely seems on the music side specifically that the partying, there's like an exponential acceleration of partying. And then to keep the party going, you got to do even crazier stuff next time. And to keep people around you saying, this guy's parties are the craziest, you got to do even crazier stuff next time. There's certain like inflation of things you do, things you say, drugs you use, maybe violence that gets into it, and things inflate. And it seems like it's gotten, in this case, if we believe this, that these parties got out of control. Were there minors there? And were they drinking champagne? And was it laced with ecstasy without their knowledge? That's like, we just went many levels deep in culpability.
Yeah. And not only that, but there's weird sexual shenanigans. He's claiming that Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs informed Mr. Jones that he had to engage in having sex with rappers Meek Mill, Usher, and Stevie J. So he dropped those names. Meek Mill is another rapper. And supposedly Mr. Combs promised to make sure that Mr. Jones would win the producer of the year at the Grammys if he basically engaged in homosexual activity.
Mm-hmm. Again, just a pattern of coercion, if you believe it, to try to force or coerce or to persuade somebody into a sexual situation.
That's not a crime. Even if Combs did that, he said, you better go have homosexual sex. That's not rape. You did it consensually.
Yeah.
You may have a civil lawsuit, but that's not a crime.
Yeah.
The crime in this so far, what I flagged is the Mr. G gunshot. So far, that's what I'm really concerned about. And the possibility of minor transportation in the airplane. That's what I'm concerned about right now. That's what the federal government is concerned about right now.
Yeah, those minors being trafficked around, moved from here to there.
Correct.
Just even put on a plane and flown to somebody's house.
Or a yacht.
I guess it's worse if they're crossing state lines because that's now federal.
Correct.
But even if they didn't cross state lines, they just went down to the city and pulled up some quote unquote sex workers, prostitutes, or just eager girls who are willing to do crazy stuff. Even if they put them in a van, a Sprinter, and brought them up to the house. If they're using the telephone, they're using the internet, it's still federal, right?
Yeah, it's called the Mann Act. You violate the Mann Act. The Mann Act says you cannot bring illegal minors across state lines. If you do, you're going to be charged under federal law.
What if it's not state lines, but you did use a cell phone to call your buddy to make it all happen?
That's still conspiracy. You're part of it. So
Also, it's international wire cable. I mean,
it doesn't matter if you made the phone call or you brought the women. Who was the one that ordered it? That's what the government wants to know. Who had the intent?
right. But what I'm saying
that.
is just to get the feds involved, it's enough to just pick up the phone because it's the communication cable of the United States.
Well, forget the phone. As long as they know that if you just told your friend, if I told you, Tony, by word, go get these girls, that alone could be enough. As long
But
as
is
you
that
testify.
federal yet? If I haven't crossed any state lines,
Absolutely, because the women are being brought. The crime is the crime.
But are they if they're from out of state?
The actual crime is 18 USC 1962 C1. Which would be transportation of illegal minors
you.
for the purposes of sexual activity.
You're right. Yeah. Why did I get hung
You
up?
don't need a phone call.
Right.
You don't need a phone
I
call.
guess because in the
Epstein didn't make phone calls.
you're
Epstein
right.
has Ghislaine bring him over.
I'm completely wrong on that point. I just somewhere in there I read that it elevated to a federal level, and maybe that's what allowed the RICO overall charges to come in on a federal level because they were using cable, mail, phones.
Yeah. What you're talking
Does
about.
that open the door to more just federal scrutiny? Because like you're using our U.S. mail system and the phone system, and
those are smaller charges.
yeah.
You know,
But to get the RICO thing going, like,
all you need for RICO is to establish that there was an enterprise and there was illegal acts under the enterprise, and that the person that was running the enterprise, there was an understanding, an agreement, and a conspiracy. That's
okay,
it.
So why am I so fake? So is there a state level RICO?
Because you're thinking about the olden days. Well, not the olden days. If you commit a fraud, let's just say I file a loan to get my bank mortgage modified, and I do it with the mail. Then once I stamp that mail, that becomes a federal fraud. Because I'm using the federal government's interstate commerce utilities to commit the fraud. That's what you're thinking of.
That's what I'm thinking of. But in this case, it's already a federal crime.
It's already a federal crime.
So it just boom, you're bumped up into the federal system.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's like they're not gonna charge you. It's a good example. They're not gonna charge you with murder and driving fast in the car if you got a dead body, right?
I got you.
So if you're driving quick, they pull you over for a traffic ticket. You're speeding, and then they find a dead body in the trunk. They're going to charge you with murder. They're not going to charge you with the speeding. Same thing with this. They're not going to charge you with the telephone call. It's a smaller crime. They're going to charge you with the bigger crime, which is the racketeering and the influential act of you bringing the minors across state borders.
Mm-hmm. And that really could have just been Sean Combs saying to a buddy, dude, it'd be really cool if there were some hot girls at the party tonight.
Absolutely.
And the buddy going, copy that, sir.
And that's a defense. Sean Combs could say, I didn't tell them to bring minors over. I didn't even know there were minors being brought over. Complete defense. But let's keep going on. And so, a young Miami, a beautiful, beautiful rapper, supposedly burst in a room, started groping Mr. Jones. That's another allegation.
So here she is. That's probably her.
Well, I have a better picture of that. She doesn't.
That's the actual.
She doesn't look that great in that picture, but I've seen some killer shots of her. I mean, she's a pretty girl. I mean,
These are images from the complaint of
Yeah.
Mr. Jones, which say these are images from young Miami and her cousin and Mr. Jones and Mr. Combs.
yeah. By the way, in my day,
On Thanksgiving Day, right before Mr. Combs invites Mr. Jones into the restroom and attempts to force him to take cocaine. Okay, fine. And then young Miami and her female who sexually assaulted Mr. Jones on Thanksgiving Day. So these are very timely images.
yeah,
Apparently,
supposedly she dropped on her knees and began performing oral sex on Mr. Jones. So let's stop right there. She started to perform oral sex. So his penis was exposed according to the lawsuit. How long did the oral sex happen for?
I mean, this is the one where if we really fixate on it and analyze it, he seems like he may be exaggerating or lying.
It's just very strange. And then she started undressing and attempted to straddle him. So not only is he claiming that she forced her mouth on his penis, but she's saying now she physically took his clothes off and jumped on top of him and had sex with him. So Tony, can you have sex with somebody with a limp penis?
Nope. You could try, but it's not working. And you're certainly not raping them at that point.
Right. And let's just say he doesn't have a limp penis and is fully erect. At some point, can you just push the girl off and say, I'm done, I don't want to do this? Or before it happens, say you don't want it? It just... And again, I'm not trying to be sexist because a lot of guys will say, well, that's not fair. Why could a girl get raped and not a guy get raped? Well, because the guy has more power in that situation. Guy has more power to walk away. Guy, it's a lot, in my opinion, it's very different. So let's keep going. So according to Mr. Jones, At the time, he was forced to, according to the allegations, have sex with prostitutes and perform acts to the pleasure of Mr. Combs.
I mean,
this is not a crime, okay, unless the sex workers are underage. So I don't, as a criminal offense attorney, I don't care.
Okay, for a second, let's say they're not underage.
Right.
He's alleging it is a crime because he is being forced to commit sex acts.
That's rape.
That's what he's alleging.
He's basically saying, I was raped. Sean Combs told me to have sex, and I had no choice but to have sex with these prostitutes. You know what I say to that?
Exactly. Come on, buddy. This is literally, as I was taking notes, this is the heading for this section. Come on, Mr. Jones. Because
this is the kitchen sink. They're throwing the kitchen sink.
Let me read from the complaint. Mr. Jones had no desire to solicit and or have sex with the individuals in the previous paragraph. Mr. Combs used his power and influence to intimidate and force Mr. Jones into soliciting and sleeping with these women. Okay? How did Mr. Combs use his power and influence? Here's how. He promised him a Grammy for Producer of the Year for the Love album. He offered him $250,000 to purchase all the instruments he wanted. It's like a Christmas list. He promised him ownership of his $20 million property. I highly doubt that. He's not.
Maybe he did.
Not dumb.
No, but maybe he dangled that carrot.
He could have dangled that carrot. But so we're supposed to believe that Mr. Jones was forced to have sex with all these women. Because if he didn't, he might
get a Grammy.
He wouldn't get a Grammy. He wouldn't get a $20 million mansion. He would not get $250,000 to purchase all the instruments he wanted. What are we talking about?
That part of to me, that part of the complaint waters down the real big picture. I would have taken that stuff out and just focused on the, Mr. G shooting.
That part sucks.
He's throwing everything in the kitchen sink because Mr. Blackburn knew this was going to get in the press. So they're trying to dirty Diddy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's all bad sounding stuff. So let's throw as much as we can at him. And I'm not trying to say necessarily that Diddy is innocent or of any of any of this. I just don't know. But I am trying to poke holes where we can.
Well, we're not. So the audience should know that when you're charged with a crime, it's not whether you're innocent. It's whether you could be found guilty. Innocence is different. We're not saying Mr. Combs is innocent. A baby is innocent. What we're saying is, as a criminal offense, from a criminal defense perspective, that Mr. Combs didn't commit any crimes.
And you're right that he did dangle a carrot, at least under these allegations.
Sure.
And he kind of, according to Mr. Jones, Puff Daddy used a carrot and stick approach. Carrots, all the things we just talked about. Stick, and I quote, "I'll eat your face."
I don't even know what that means. What does that mean when you say I'll eat your face? I don't even know what that means.
I don't know. It's bad.
That's just weird.
Is it like you're sleeping, I'll knock you out and literally break your face and eat it?
I don't know. And, he alleges that...
There's been incidents of animals eating people's faces off. It's a horrifying thing, right?
Well, the part that should concern Mr. Combs' attorneys, Sean, Holly, and... Mr. Dyer, Aaron Dyer, is that supposedly the girls at these parties were under the age of 16. According to the complaint, again, this is all allegations, there were at least 5 women in the crowd that were under the age of 16.
In the crowd?
In the listening parties. They had listening parties, and the one of the listening parties apparently was on July 2nd, 2023. So
they're saying the younger girls would have been present, but are they alleging actual problems with those younger girls? They probably are.
Supposedly, but again, I don't want to spew what I saw on the internet, but apparently the women that are dancing with P. Diddy or Sean Combs, one of them came out and said, "That's me. I'm 32 years old and I'm a mom. I'm not 16." So that's already getting debunked. One of the photos. Now, just as you know, I don't believe anything until you're under deposition because anybody could lie for any reason. So these girls could lie to protect Sean Combs. Sean Combs could lie. The only time you can't lie is when you're under deposition.
Mm-hmm. There's a whole lot of people under this umbrella of investigation now that cannot lie.
I mean, they can, but
but they won't. They might, but
they may, but their lies will come out eventually, and they'll get charged with perjury. And I don't think these people have a reason to lie. Tony, you know what I think is going to happen? I think that Moy Bond, that the federal government has a confidential informant that's giving him information, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave him immunity, full immunity, and said to Moy Bond or whoever it is in his crew, look, we're going to talk to you. And if you don't want to talk to us, we're going to file an indictment against you. But this is your only window today, right now, to speak to us. If you sign this piece of paper, you're free. We're not going to prosecute you ever. And his lawyer told, him, you sign a piece of paper and talk to them because you have nothing to lose. So they've got CIs, as we call them, confidential informants that are talking right now.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is, in my opinion, there's a saying that...
Can you trust them?
That, when you have a confidential informant, they like to sing, right? They like to sing the song that you want to sing.
They're there to sing.
But will they actually compose and make something up? There's a difference between singing a song and composing a song. Mm-hmm. And that's what we say as criminal defense attorneys. They're going to compose because they're going to make stuff up to get themselves out of it.
It sure seems like Mr. Jones doing a little bit of singing, but also a little bit of composing.
Probably
in this civil complaint. Another thing that was alleged was that Sean Combs coerced, used all these carrots and sticks to make Mr. Jones go down to the booty trap on the river and recruit girls. So let's just imagine what that looks like. Let's try to put us in Mr. Jones' shoes. It's daytime. Here's a picture of the booty trap. I'm sure sometimes it was nighttime.
Oh, yeah, the hat. He wears a hat that says Bad Boy Records or something, and that's supposed to be a flag.
He was forced to put on a hat.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That said Bad Boy Records on it so that he could walk near this kind of area called the booby trap where maybe there were a lot of sex workers or a lot of prostitutes or a lot of willing ladies hanging out. And he was supposed to recruit them and take them back to the party. So...
Forcibly. Like he had a gun in the back of his head and he had no choice.
Yeah.
He had to do it.
Yeah, like if you're making this scene in the movie, what is Mr. Jones, what's his demeanor when he's walking down the booby trap?
He's got a smile.
Is he scared and like awkwardly looking around like, I don't really want to be here? He's hiding his face or like wondering if Combs is looking at him or like, is he nervous or is he like strutting because he's got a budget and he's there to recruit girls and he's got the bad boy hat on. They're flocking to him. Is he smiling?
Of course he is. And let me ask you a silly question. Why couldn't he just say, F this, I'm out of here?
Yeah, why couldn't he just not go that day?
Yeah.
You know why?
Because he wants a Grammy.
He wants a Grammy. He wants a $20 million home.
These are all
$250K. He wants to not get his face eaten.
Yeah, these are all shameless opportunists. All of them. Combs is a shameless opportunist. All these guys in the industry. I don't like Hollywood. I'll be honest with you. I have a friend that's a pretty famous actor. He's on TV. I'm not going to mention the stories that he tells me. It's just horrible the way Hollywood takes advantage of people. The recording studio. It starts from the top, the pyramid.
You know what it is? It's when you want it so bad. When you're the person on the bottom who's like, I want to be that director. I want to be that actress. I want to be that R&B Grammy star, performer, songwriter. You're willing to do a lot to get there. And if super powerful people dangle the right carrots in front of you at the right moment and you're impressionable and you're young and you're ambitious, they could easily get you to do stuff.
That's called the Harvey Weinstein technique. Mm-hmm. Come to my room, give me a massage, we'll talk about your part.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit more in the past than in the future.
In what sense?
It's probably not going to happen as often as it was, or maybe isn't even today, but I could be wrong. I don't know. And it's
or maybe they go deeper underground and be more careful.
Maybe they go deeper underground, but it's certainly some kind of perversion of power in the structure of the entertainment business, and people will abuse that power.
100%.
Politics does it too.
Yeah, but I think in the entertainment industry, the clientele that you have...
It's looser.
You have indigent, poor actors that are living on the streets. They're struggling to make it.
Yes.
And they're more tempted to do what you're going to do because, I saw a video of one of Sean Combs' dancers. I don't know if you saw this. It went viral. She said that she's known about like all this bad things that have been happening for years. And she's a victim and horrible things. She said, you have no idea what I went through. And I think she's going to be subpoenaed for sure. But then she said, do you know why I didn't come forward? Because I want to put this behind me. I don't want to think about it. And the reason it happens, she says, is because you want to get the part. You want to be a dancer. You want to do those things.
You're focused on your career. You want to rise up.
So you're thinking, when it happens, it's bad, but at least I got the part now and you put it behind you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I mean, just devil's advocate, aren't there other industries where there is such a power imbalance?
Of course, corporate law, probably
guess.
law firms, maybe. You know,
But I mean, but there's a difference in the culture.
not really. Have you ever heard of sleeping your way up to the corporate ladder? There's a reason. There's that saying that people do that. But Hollywood, I think it's more salacious. It's more your face.
It's freaky to begin with.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to be a little freaky and all. I mean, everything's edgier, sexier, naughtier, different, pushing boundaries, not really trying to pull back.
Right.
A law firm, corporate law firm doing SEC regulations, probably a little more conservative. Everybody's dressed more buttoned up and speaks more formally to a degree. To a degree?
Yeah, let's call it a hedonistic practice or a hedonistic business where, you know, everybody's supposed to have a good time all the time.
Yeah, like the girls are already half naked on set.
Yeah.
When you get there. Like the work day is already salacious to begin with. What you're seeing and hearing around you.
Yeah.
If you're on a musical video shoot or if you're on even if you're at the recording studio hanging out with artists who are like doing drugs in the back and then coming in and doing a take, going back out. I mean, these are,
So that's what's
it's
going on.
It's a freaky environment.
It's a freaky environment. And according to the complaint, not only is it a freaky environment, but so Diddy's got a personal drug mule that's giving him drugs, that's distributing drugs and guns. That's a big deal, by the way, guns and drugs and on an airplane. So I think Brendan Paul, I'm going to make a prediction. Brendan Paul is going to flip. The drug mule is going to flip for sure.
So right now he's
looking at 15 years minimum.
Is he arrested and in hold?
Yes, he's looking at 15 years minimum. What would you do if I was the federal government and I said, you're going to be looking at 15 years or you sign on a dotted line and you tell me what's going on in P. Diddy's house?
How loyal am I supposed to be to P. Diddy?
He's not going to be loyal. Nobody's going to be loyal to Sean Combs. You know what I find interesting? Nobody has come forward and defended Sean Combs. Yeah. Nobody. That's really strange. Nobody said, I've known Sean Combs, he would never do that. Everybody's silent. Even Ashton Kutcher, if you want, I can't talk about it. You know, everybody's like, I can't talk about it.
But listen, who's going to put their neck out and get involved in a potential criminal indictment? Who's going to come out and be like, I have something to say about this?
But you know what? Those people, Ashton Kutcher is going to get subpoenaed. He's not going to have a choice. Brendan Paul's going to get subpoenaed. He has no choice. Moib Ton is not going to have a choice. If you want to put up that little chart that I gave you about who the players are in this case, take a look at who the players are in the case, and let's go through it right now.
Let's do this. So here's a little chart you sent over today that you found.
Yeah.
Credit to whoever did it.
And it shows basically the CEO of Universal Studios as Lucian Grange, who was also a defendant in the case.
Credit to Crime Online for putting it together. But let's look at it. So there it is.
There it is. Ethiopia Habertiam, Christina Koram, the alleged Ghislaine Maxwell. Moy Bon is the one that I'm predicting. You could bank this. You could quote me on it. He will be spilling the beans to the federal government. They're going to go, if I was a federal government, I'd go after Moy Bon, number one. Number two, Brendan Paul, the drug mule. Number three, Frankie Santella. Let's get him. I would get him in the room. I would get also Fahim Mohammed. All these guys are probably singing like canaries right now. So here's my prediction. Brendan Paul is a confidential informant right now. Moy Bon, probably. Frankie Santella, probably. Fahid Mohammed, probably.
So you're saying that the Homeland Security agents have reached out to these people, probably have them speaking to them under wraps as CIs, confidential informants, building this connection, this network, this RICO organization somewhere on a chart on their wall.
Just like the chart I gave you.
Just like this chart that we're looking at. And at the center of it is Sean Combs, the allegation being that he sits at the top of this RICO organization, all with the intent of moving young ladies, maybe underage, maybe not, up through this network, ultimately to him, to Sean Combs and his parties and his friends and his people.
It's called the R. Kelly strategy. Same thing. R. Kelly did the same exact thing. He let young women thinking that he was going to give them careers, and he slept with them, and he didn't give them careers.
And there potentially is drugs involved in terms of lacing drinks that they're drinking, maybe persuading them to take pills.
Sure.
I mean, we heard from the Cassie complaint that he persuaded her to take pills, and she was like, okay, I'll take it. Well, that's partying with a guy. That's not rape.
I agree.
but maybe it's without their knowledge. Like
if you're spiking the drinks, that's a big deal. But I don't even think that's the federal crime here. The federal crime, I believe.
Ooh, if you're spiking champagne on a yacht with ecstasy.
Well, if it's on a yacht, that's different.
With ecstasy, and there's young girls underage.
Now you're changing the facts.
Shouldn't even be drinking, but they're getting champaine.
Well, you change your facts now. You change.
But that is the allegation: champagne on a yacht laced with ecstasy.
That may be different, and that. The underage girls is the key. If it would,
the key is not the yacht, not the girls, not the drugs, but the underage girls mixed with drugs.
100% correct. That's the key. That's why the raid happened. That's a big deal. Whenever you have an Epstein type of allegation, that's huge. Underage girls transporting. This is all over America now. America doesn't have the patience anymore for this kind of shenanigans.
Yeah.
So as soon as you raise the flag and you throw it out there to the world that this is going on, you know what? People are watching the news, like agents, judges, prosecutors. You think they're going to turn a blind eye to that? I don't think so.
Everybody wants to protect our young ladies.
100%. So they have to.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if there wasn't a search warrant in this case.
Yeah. Both, I mean, as dads, we can appreciate the importance of a young lady being protected from this kind of coercion, especially with chemical influence involved. She has no control. She won't even know what hit her.
Yeah. And I want to also talk about the raid, about how Diddy's attorney said this was a military type raid. It was unnecessary.
Yeah. Everybody's been looking at videos the last day or two of Diddy's two sons being, quote unquote, excessive force being used against them.
Yeah. And I think the mom said that they had laser pointers in the back of his head. I don't know if that's true, but I will say this. Okay?
I didn't see that in the video.
I'll say this. She said that this wouldn't have happened if they were white, okay? It happened to Roger Stone. Google that. And Roger Stone is a white male. So I don't buy that, okay? I don't buy that race. I don't buy that race thing. It has nothing to do with race. It has to do with drugs and guns.
Of course it had nothing to do with race, to the degree that they're serving a warrant on a famous celebrity's home.
With guns.
With guns. They think that, who knows what they think, but I think that I'm going to venture out to say that in the eyes of these law enforcement agents, if they're going to identify this man as anything, he's going to be identified as a billionaire superstar rap mogul music producer before he's going to be identified as a black man.
100%. Tony, first of all, I want to reiterate that I'm colorblind, all right? So I represent a lot of minorities, and I don't like when people use the race card just to, help them in a certain legal situation. I don't think that this happened in this case. I don't think the government went after Sean Combs with military types of trucks because he was black. They went after him because he was Sean Combs, who was accused of illegal minors being transported and that he had guns. And that's why they did what they did.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the Roger Stone raid and images of it, and I do see people can search it for themselves, like bulletproof vests and rifles drawn. And
that's right.
There's surveillance video of all of that going down.
Yeah.
In Roger Stone's house, an older white man with white hair.
That's right. So let's keep going on.
So can we drop the race issue and just literally why
no race issue.
Why drag that into this case?
Because the mom is pissed. The mom is pissed that the sons, were in cuffs, and she's saying what she's going to say. I get it. I'm a father. I might have said something to defend my sons too. But here's what the audience needs to know about why Diddy's house was searched. In order to get a search warrant, you need probable cause. Probable cause means more likely than not the crime committed. The government was convinced, not by one witness. They never will file with just one witness, okay? They have corroborating witnesses. I'm telling you, based on my experience.
Eyewitness corroboration.
Yeah, there's got to be more than one. The federal government doesn't deal with one witness because that one witness could be lying. So what happened was a detective on the case, or an investigator on the case, interviewed people who told him and corroborated, yes, this is going on. He has guns. He has videos. We seen girls there that looked young. And then the government said, are you sure? No, I'm not sure. But if they look pretty young, that's probable cause.
They connected enough dots.
That's it. Just to connect the dots. Now
Nobody's getting convicted.
Not yet. Now the government is in the investigatory stage. Now, before we do
So
that.
enough to take a closer look.
Yeah, before we get into the investigatory stage. So now they take the search warrant, they take it to a judge, and it says, Judge, the following has been said to us. It says that Sean Combs had drugs. It says Sean Combs brought in girls, and we have witnesses that corroborate it. Can you please get us a search warrant? And the judge took a look at it and said, you know what? I think there's enough here. Mm-hmm. And so now they went in. And the fact that this raid happened on such a grand scale, it'd be shocking to me. And I'm going to make a statement. It would be shocking to me if Sean Combs is not arrested. In fact, I'm going to make a bold prediction that now that they have the audio and videotapes, it's going to take some time. I'm going to predict in less than 6 months, you're going to see indictments flying against Sean Combs and a lot of other people.
So you think Homeland Security went in there to those two homes, LA and Miami, and confiscated a lot of video?
Yes.
Video that he was maybe secretly recording from inside the home of everybody?
Yes.
Or maybe he had stored somewhere on a server?
Well, according to Jones, he was using these videos as blackmail, apparently also.
So any computer might have had traces of that. Any old email server might have attachments you could grab.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Or does he have a vault of video footage labeled with people's names for like extortion?
It could be. And you know, and by the way, just to go back to what I said before about the videos, they have to find indicia or evidence of facilitated sex trafficking that was ordered by Sean Combs. So all they need to do is show the videos. So what's going to happen is they're going to look at the videos. They're going to ask the witnesses, who are those girls? They're going to go interview those girls, and they're going to find out if they were underage and if they were there. That's not illegal to have underage girls there.
Present is not illegal.
Present is not illegal. Present is not illegal. But if there was illicit drugs available, or if he did something with those women that were, you know, that could be a different story. So
chances are, if there were underage girls there, some other lines were crossed.
Yeah. So I want to also go into, you know, grooming. They're talking about grooming, that Sean Combs was grooming everybody. This to me had the same flavor as David Koresh. Remember David Koresh?
A cult leader.
Cult leader.
Yeah.
And do you remember also Bill Cosby? You know, same thing. Grooming. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Harvey Weinstein. Grooming. Jeffrey Epstein. Grooming. R. Kelly. Grooming. So all has the same pattern and behavior. It has the same flavor. I'm not saying that Mr. Combs is guilty. I'm only telling you that where there's smoke, there's usually fire. And in this case, it's on the radar now because of this lawsuit.
Yes, there's a lot of smoke. Most of it is verbal testimony or statements by Mr. Jones.
Yeah. And
some of it is verbal statements by Cassie.
Yeah.
But you're clearly pointing out that, there's definitely more behind the scenes because the authorities have interviewed way more people and have confidential informants and are creating a web of connections that are tying up the RICO ladder up to Sean Combs.
Correct. It would really shock me if we sat and had another podcast 6 months from now and we said, you know, Sean never got arrested. He just dropped. He just fell out of thin air. I don't think that's going to happen.
So that's coming soon.
I think so. If you want the odds on that, this is just speculation based on my experience of 25 years of doing criminal defense. I'd say the odds of him not getting indicted are like less than 10%. I'd say there's a 90% chance he's going to get indicted.
So he knows that. He's not dumb. He's probably meeting with lawyers right now.
Of course. In fact, we just found that hot from the wire about an hour ago. Apparently, one of Sean Combs' son, I don't know if it was King or the other one, hired Mr. Lichtman, Jeffrey Lichtman, who represented El Chapo.
Okay.
So they're scared. They're pooping their pants right now. They're getting the big guns to protect themselves. And Sean Combs is doing exactly what I would want Sean Combs to do, is acting as if nothing happened. He's going on Instagram, Happy Easter, everybody, smiling, not a care in the world. And
you think that's under counsel's advice?
Of course. He told him, you better act like you're innocent. Act normal. Act like you don't care. Wow. Because the jury's watching. The world is watching.
Right.
And the world is your jury pool.
At this point, it's sort of like the court of public opinion.
That's right. Court of public opinion is actually stronger at this point than what a jury would believe. It's very important. So getting back to the search warrant, did you know that a search warrant is an evidence gathering tool? It is not an arrest warrant. So it's a really good tool to find out if a crime has been convicted. But like I said, committed. But like I said, I'd be shocked if they just came out and said, "Oh, we're going to drop the charges against Sean Combs." We found out that Rodney Jones lied about everything. He probably lied about a lot of stuff, but all of it, 100% of it, I would find that hard to believe.
Interesting. So you smell a conviction at the end of that.
Oh, if Sean Combs gets indicted, he will be convicted. The federal government has a 97 or 98% conviction rate.
Wow.
He's going down. Oof. The only time I've seen, I'm going to compliment this attorney, the only time I've seen high profile cases get not guilty was Imelda Marcos, who was Ferdinand Marcos's wife from the Philippines. Mm-hmm. Thomas Mesereau got a not guilty verdict, and that was like a 3-month trial.
Where was she on trial? In America?
She was, in America for smuggling money and stealing and all this crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, Thomas Mesereau won. You can win federal cases, but it's like 2%, 3% chance. And the problem with this is it's salacious. It's not like that case where it's about fraud. It's about paper. You know, this is more about sex and young girls, and it makes it a little bit more dirty, in my opinion.
Look, I agree. And I think we've done our best to steel man the Sean Combs side of the equation here. We've talked about how the girls maybe were of age. We've talked about maybe the drugs were consensual. We've talked about how, hey, you have a lot of drugs. It's a party. It's not distribution. We've talked about the firearms. We don't know if they're registered or not.
Don't know.
We've talked about Mr. Jones claiming to be out there trafficking girls against his will, but we kind of laughed that off. Like, come on, dude, you're in on this. You're doing it happily. You're boldly recruiting these girls out at the booby call or whatever it was called, booby trap.
Yeah.
We've tried to steel man Sean Combs' side of it, but it feels like in all this analysis we've done and looked at everything, it looks bad for him.
It looks like really bad.
The clouds are gathering, and he seems like he's going to be up against it.
You know, hopefully I'm wrong. I like to think that Sean Combs is a very talented producer that is being wrongfully accused. That's just in me, the cynic in me. I don't like it when people accuse other people without concrete proof. But I will say this. There is a lot of crap being thrown against the wall against Sean Combs, and something might stick. Mm-hmm. And all you need is just one piece of crap to stick against the wall, and that he's done. Mm-hmm. So, and I think Brendan Paul is going to be very key in this case. Brendan Paul was not only a drug mule, but he also acquired guns for Mr. Combs. That's illegal to bring guns on a plane back and forth. He could be charged just on that. So let's just say he's scot-free on the illegal women or whatever. He could be charged on the guns.
That, he's okay, and it's just this guns thing.
It could be the gun charge. It could be any. He's got so many things to worry about. So many bullets coming at him. Boom, boom, boom. Dodge this, dodge that. You remember The Matrix?
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves?
Yeah.
Do you remember he was like dodging these
pictures? Bullet time.
I should do an AI of Sean Combs dodging bullets because he's going to need to dodge all these bullets like Keanu did in Matrix. And that's what it's looking at right now.
Wow. That looks like an uphill battle.
Yeah.
So I guess let's circle back as soon as he's arrested, which sounds like it's going to happen.
I'm going to predict 6 months or less. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2 months or less. And if he's not arrested, I'll be more surprised.
We'll be back here talking about it.
Yes, sir.
All right.